Rina Shah is a former Republican strategist and political analyst. She joins us from Washington, D.C. Rina, what's the number one reason, in your view, that Republicans underperformed relative to expectations?
It was the overturn of Roe versus Wade at the Supreme Court that led American women to feel as if the Republican Party does not reflect them. There was anger. There was a serious sentiment about truly reproductive rights and what they mean today. And that's why we saw the result we saw: Republicans underperforming when they should have done far better than they did.
Is that something that can carry over to 2024 in the presidential race?
Well, that I'm not sure of. The longevity of the issue is certainly tough because we do have short attention spans as an electorate. But the reality is this: Republicans have made some inroads and done somewhat okay in terms of messaging on the decision, the Dobbs decision in the Supreme Court again, saying that it kicks the issue of abortion back to the states. So, like I said, longevity into 2024, we're not sure of. I think there are going to be other issues that emerge that show that, again, millennials and Gen Z tend to be going for Democrats far more than they are for Republicans in much of the country.
Where does this leave us on the type of candidates that Republicans should be fielding? I mean, we talked a lot about election deniers before the election, saying that there were election deniers running, right? Candidates who were denying the results of the last presidential election, running in for many offices up and down the ballot across the country. Did that work?
Well, let me tackle your question in two parts here. Number one is candidate quality is the phrase of the year, in my opinion. That was mentioned by Senator Mitch McConnell many months ago. He remarked about how the quality, again, of the candidates are throughout the country, whether you were looking at Georgia or Ohio, Pennsylvania, even out to Arizona. You're seeing Republicans who take on a veneer that is much like that of former President Trump's. Now, putting that aside, there is a bigger issue here, and that's political extremism. And the issue of election integrity is what many a Republican are calling it. In Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin, when he ran for governor, not this year, just last, he talked about it quite a bit. And that is bringing into question the validity of the results of the 2020 election. Now, is it baked into the GOP currently, this question of election denialism? I'm sorry, excuse me, the phrase election denialism, the phrase election integrity. What that really means is that there is still an appetite in the base of Republican voters for relitigating the 2020 election. That is not only harmful for democracy, but I think that it doesn't augur well for the future of the Republican Party either.
Okay, what else should the Republican Party be learning from these elections, especially as regards the type of candidate that they're going to be fielding? I'm not talking about gubernatorial candidates. I'm not talking about senatorial candidates this time. I'm talking about the presidential candidate.
Well, 2024, the election for the president is still 700 some days away. So it's never too early to start talking about it. But I will say this. It is a situation in which many people feel like we're looking at bad and less bad. Now, if Biden tries to run again and Republicans have the majority in the House of Representatives, it'll be Biden running against Congress, much like Truman did in 48. But that's putting that aside for a moment. I hope Biden doesn't run again. I think there are a couple really good candidates out there for the Democrats, and it would be good of them to consider these people and bring them to the national spotlight. These are two governors I'm looking at, and it's not California's Governor Gavin Newsom. I'm talking about Gretchen Whitmer, the governor in Michigan, who's been able to eke out 2 wins now, winning for a second time out of the red. Then there's also Governor Jared Polis in Colorado, who's managed to make it more blue out there in Colorado. 2 really good governors that could be strong presidential candidates. Now, looking at the right, we see the heir apparent could be Trump protege DeSantis. People say, wow, look at what he's done in Florida. Putting our real glasses on here, not our sunglasses, we can say DeSantis enjoys a lot of support throughout Florida. He's probably the only candidate right now who has the ability to mount a serious ground game against former President Trump. So on the one hand, he's good, but not great.
And the lesson for Trump himself, I mean, it's unclear how much he moved the needle when he jumped into those local races.
Well, Trump shouldn't think that DeSantis is his only opponent. I think that's what he's thinking right now. There are reports saying that he's pretty angry about DeSantis holding a competing rally the same night he did earlier this week in Florida. He thinks that DeSantis should probably just kiss the ring and move away, get out of Trump's way. I think there are potential others who could mount a challenge to Trump, because the maybe Trumpers are the people who hold the power right now in the Republican Party. It's not the always Trumpers who still attend the former president's rallies, and it's not the never Trumpers, people who opposed him from the outset. It's the people that would like somebody new, a person who talks about solutions, a person who doesn't bring the baggage and the drama that former President Trump does. There could be an appetite for somebody out there like a Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, or a Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina. There are some people out there on the GOP side who I would be pretty certain could hold a good candle to Trump, to put it like in that way. And I don't think these are people that we've known of before, like Senator Ted Cruz or, a former Governor John Kasich of Ohio. Those people have tried it. They weren't successful. So I think the GOP should try something new. Go for somebody that's talking about solutions. Go for somebody that looks and feels different than Trump. Don't be scared is what I would advise Republican leadership right now.
Interesting, coming from a former Republican strategist and political analyst, Rina Shah. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Great to chat with you.